So today, being the second session, we shall be talking about defining your business. So how we are going to define the business. So how we are going to define our business. Once you have come up with that unique idea, that was what we discussed in the first part. The next part would be to define it. Now, for that, you have to plan and you have to strategize. So the main objective here is, how are you going to make it large? How are you going to, like, if I have to just sell something, or if I just have to retail something, what I need to do, I need to get the kind of goods and goods with me, and I need to sell them. So let's say if I want to do a garment business, my simple way would be, I know I have to make a list of people from where I'm going to buy these products, and I have to make a list of my customers, right? It's going to be as simple as that. But that is just the first point. Just by selling garments, you're not going to make money, right? You need to customize it, you will have to style it, you will have to design it. All that comes at this stage, the initial stage of planning. Okay, so you cannot say that I am only going to be stitching garments, because then what is the difference between you and a tailor? You are a fashion designer. How are you going to showcase your brand? How you are going to reach out to customers? What customer segmentation you want to do for your product? Right. So Dolce and Gabbana does not reach out to everyone. It is for a certain specific segment only, and that is their policy right from the beginning. It's not come in like, only for Indian market or only for any other market. Again, even if you want to categorize it for different market, you need to make sure that you have that designed in planning itself, in the first step itself. So, Babita, can you just unmute yourself and tell us that, what business are you into, and what brings you to this entrepreneurship forum?
It seems she is not there.
Yeah, it seems she's not there. So, sorry. Yeah. So let us continue with this. Let us understand the fact that the first and foremost point is about planning what you want to do, planning the kind of customers you want to reach, planning your pricing strategy, planning for your marketing strategy, planning for your goods and services, and the range of goods and services that you're going to be, into business for. All of that needs to be defined at this stage itself, that is defining your business. So the first and foremost step is, okay, I'm going to diversify into 1 2 3. There are things which will add up as and when you grow in your business. It happens. But initially, what is going to be your base niche? How are you going to create that? What will be your target audience? How will you reach out to them? What will be your pricing strategy? How will you define your markets? All of that you need to make sure and understand at this stage itself. That is the part of defining your business. Now, coming to how you're going to do that. Again, you are not the only person going to be doing your business. You will have a team of people adding on to you. You will have people who would be, your leadership team, your co-founders. All of that should have this, all of those people who are going to be the basic people with you, the initial people with you, should have the same thought, the same process. They should agree with you on every single thing. Only then you can move ahead. And the most common thing with people is that, we all have different thoughts, different views, and we all tend to agree or disagree with different people. So in such a scenario, what do you do to bring in a correlation between all of this? Correlation that what I am thinking, or the way I am thinking, my team also has to think. The way I am doing, my team also needs to do. What do you do for that? What should you do for that? Any ideas?
The team, when you talk about, as Dr. Neeta said in her class, that we should have for every job, every activity, there should be another person who will be able to do in your absence.
Yeah, something like that. See, initially, what happens is, you may not be a marketing expert plus a finance expert plus a technology expert plus a sales expert. All is not your forte. You only have an idea that you want to launch this product, whatever it is,
Yeah.
product or service. but
Yes.
you need expertise of different people. Okay, and
Yeah.
they will be soon forming your leadership team, which is going to take build on teams further, you know, to
Mm.
grow in their business. So I've already done on my YouTube channel the video on how to build teams, because your leadership team is the most important team, because what they do others will follow. So the first people that you're in touch with, like your co-founder, I've done a video on how to find your co-founder also. I've done a video on how to build on teams also. You can have a look at that on Learning Equinox. So the main thing is that those people should also follow the same processes and, you know, the same things, or think alike you. So for that, what do you need to do? What you think you should do?
Jyoti, don't you think that I find many people now, they just create a product and they just create a marketing setup and then there's a search for a customer.
That is
On the
only a
other
four,
con,
5 year plan. No, that is only 4, 5 year
uh,
plan. Amazon is
that
since
is on
10
the
years in business. Now it depends on
other
your
way.
scalability.
Hmm. On the contrary, we should first, have a, as you said, niche market, and then we understand what their lifestyle is, what their people about, and
Hmm.
then select or design a product, and then it become easy to sell.
Correct, correct.
Because I think many people in the market, they don't know what customer needs. They are just trying to say, this is our product. Do you like to have it?
Right, right. So the thing is, like, tomorrow, say 2 years or 3 years down the line, you want to have global expansion. Like, you want to
Yeah,
reach out to people in different parts of the country. You have
yeah,
technology for that today. Yes, fantastic. But how are you going to make sure that your processes, your systems are replicated everywhere? Means what I think my brand should be in the same manner. You go to
mm,
a McDonald's counter in Bombay, in Pune, or you go to it in Delhi or outside India, anywhere.
yeah,
They
mm,
have the same culture, right? That's a big
yeah.
scalable business. So what do you need to do for that? And this all comes at this stage itself, at the initial stage. It doesn't come later on when you have grown your business. It has to be thought about in this beginning phase itself. And any ideas what that could be?
No.
So, yeah, that is all about vision, mission, and values. When I talk about vision, what is a vision?
Vision is what you intend achieving.
Yeah, so what you want to achieve in, what the business is set out to achieve. So basically, it is meant for, like, if I take the same McDonald's example, it is meant for providing quality food. In If I talk about Amazon, it is meant to provide a platform for e-commerce selling. Okay, so that is how it is, to to bring up platform where buyers and sellers in the digital world can come together. That is Amazon, what Amazon is set out to achieve. So the vision of the business is what you need to define here. What am I going to do? Because what you think are going to do, everybody else in the team is going to think the same. Okay, you do not go to a McDonald's and you get an ODP flavor over there, right? You do not go to an
Yeah.
ODP restaurant and you get a service of maybe a Domino's over there, because they have value principles. They have set out what they are going to achieve, and everyone who joins the company is made aware of this. And this has to be set in the beginning. So
Yeah.
a value statement is not a target statement. It doesn't say that I have to cross 1 million customers or I have to cross so much. No, it's a value. I have to sell these kind of products and services. I have to offer value for money for my customers. Things like that are vision statements. Any examples of vision statements? You can give me examples of vision statement, Bhavita ji.
In my product services, I said my vision is to have emotional literacy for all the people.
Okay, so that is your vision statement, because it's not having any target, but yes, you want to reach out to you want to emotionally connect with everybody. So your vision
Yeah.
statement is to emotionally connect and to help people emotionally, right? So that is
Yeah.
a vision statement. it should be a broad description of the values of the organization, obviously, because what you're going to set out. If you want to describe that, the next step would be to set out the value principles with which, for what it is set out. And of course it builds on the image of the organization, and also it inspires people to motivate them, because they know what they are heading for. This is like that torchbearer role. This is like the torch that you have to see and follow. If this is not in place, people will be like hodgepodge of activities na, मैंने ये कर दिया, आपने वो कर दिया, doesn't matter. But there is a value, there is a vision statement. We all are working towards achieving a common goal, and that is called as a vision statement. So it inspires people and it motivates them to join that organization and to work in that organization. So if I give an example, would I like to work in, let's say, would I like to be connected with Apple? Would I like to be connected with or work for Amazon? The answer is yes. Because why? Not that they are big companies, simply because they are they have a vision statement. They know what they are doing, and I can contribute in that business. So every employee should think like that, and every employee does think like that. So where you feel you are able to contribute, and that comes from the value statement. All of this is given to the person joining in at the induction training program. So when companies conduct induction training programs, they are actually educating their employees on this part itself, on the vision statement, on the mission statement, on the value principles, on the history of the company. All of this gives them a motivation, a high about the company. And this is very important. This is as good as you telling, this is my company. Many times the MD or CEO speeches are there in the induction training program. The whole idea of these all activities or the induction training program to an employee is that you need to align yourself to this vision, mission, value statement. Yeah, Dipesh has just joined in. Dipesh, can you just tell me what business you are into and what brings you to the entrepreneurship forum?
I am in event management.
Okay. And what brings you to the entrepreneurship session? Like what you want to learn? What do you
I
want to learn from here?
it's developing my business tools.
Okay. See, you can communicate in Hindi or English. Everything is fine. Huh? I mean, whatever comforts you. I am comfortable in English, so I'm explaining. But if you want me to speak in Hindi, I'll do that. Okay. So no problem on that. Just let me know as I proceed with the session. Okay.
Okay, thank you so much.
Yeah. So we started with, how do you go about defining your business? The first part was talking about the significance of brand building, significance of building your leadership team, and you build it how? Through the vision, mission, value. So you have not missed much. I was just talking on the vision part of it right now. So vision is some, yeah,
Jyoti, can I share with you something?
yeah, sure.
I joined this company called Consolidated Hoist in 2000, 1973.
Oh, way
Now
back in
this is
73.
this is they make cranes. They are something called material handling equipment.
Correct.
Initially there were two three companies. Foreign companies. They were selling in India.
Hmm.
Then we gone into what you call manufacturing in India. But what I found was those days most of the people what they do is they work in those companies for a few years and then they copy it and then same product and same they think that I can start my own. They make these cranes and hoists. They
Hmm.
attach the same attack the same customers, same dealers. Of course industry was growing, so there was a platform for everybody.
Correct.
And I found many businessmen, except these multinational companies, high tech companies, the rest of these all these medium and small companies, They are nothing but they are copying somebody's product, somebody's market setup, somebody's customer, somebody's dealers. No, they are just basically borrowing, copying and borrowing their others' business.
So
You
that
agree
is
on that?
competition. That is competition.
Except
It happens in larger businesses also. You
also,
have a McDonald's today, you have a Burger King today, you have Flipkart today, you have Amazon today, you have so many people replicating their e-commerce business. So that is part of competition. But employee retention is through your value statement, your vision statement, your mission statement, and how much your employees are committed to that. Huh? It's not about putting it up on the wall or putting it up everywhere in your organization. No, that is, yeah, okay, a way to communicate. You can use that. I'm not denying that. But how much are your employees able to relate to it? It cannot be just, in black and white out there. We will look at it when we do the further sessions where I will talk about how you're going to make it into executable action plans for people
yeah,
so that
I
they are
just
able to
join you in a
abide.
minute. I just join you in a minute.
Yeah, sure. So, while Sir joins in, we will continue with the mission statement. Um, the mission statement basically talks about what to do now and to achieve the vision. Means vision is okay, the long term objective. This is what our company is set out to be. This is what the company is supposed to do. But what the vision statement is, how are you going to do it? What are you set out to achieve? How are you going to achieve that vision that you have set out to? That is come by the mission statement. um, why the organization exists, why we are having all these people in us, why we are having different departments, why we are having such a large organization. Because we want to achieve the vision. We want to achieve the vision, but in what manner? How are you going to achieve? Is what is written in the mission statement. How it is going to create value, because value creation, be it for your internal employees or your external employees, is important. So we were just talking about how your mission statement is different from your vision. Vision is the bigger picture. This is what I want to do. This is what I want to create. Okay, how you're going to do it? How are you going to achieve that vision? How your organization is set out? You have different departments, you have different people, but what different things they need to do? Yeah, so why does the organization exist? How are we going to further understand that this is going to create value? What sort of value creation we are going to set? How will I create this value is what your mission statement will define. And yes, the strategic broad organization goals, because strategy, as you know, it is a method from where you are to where you are going to be. So here I am today, I'm doing something, and I'm going to be at a different location tomorrow, right? Why? Because I have planned for it. So my vision statement says, okay, I want to achieve this. How? What strategy will I adopt? All of this comes in the mission statement. How am I going to move forward? What would be my sales targets? How will be my broad sales mechanism? What will be my pricing strategy? What will be my customer policy? Those things come under the mission part of things. And the last is about value creation. So values are nothing but your code of ethics. It talks about what you can do, what you should not do, how the organization should and how its people should behave. Okay, so this is all about value creation in the organization. So let's say a company which talks, I'll give you a classic example of many of you know about that Mahindra Jeeps, you know. So initially, when the Jeep was launched, that time what happened is generally the tire of the Jeep is at the bottom, at the base. Because of the gravity, the tire is a heavy tire of a Jeep, so it is generally at the bottom. Now, due to the fancy look and feel, everyone likes to have it, at the back door of it. So it looks very macho like a Jeep.
Yeah.
Okay, so when Mahindra came out with
Yeah.
their Jeep, at that point of time, Mr. Mahindra was the chief decision maker, and people had got when they launched their new Jeep, they had a lot of orders for that vehicle. But there were a customer's request which was coming in that, to at that time, in way back in 89 90, when they launched it, at that time there were a lot of international you can say Jeeps that were there with a tire at the back side. So they had requested Mahindra also, okay, if this would also be there, your sales will be very good, and this and that. So the engineers of Mahindra Group worked on that, and they came up with another very fantastic idea. The actual Stephanie tire would be down only because it's against gravity, so that way safety will be maintained. They created a box-like thing, which looks like a tire, but it is not actually a tire, and that they placed at the back side. Now, this is a design change. A design change has to go to the CEO level, and CEO level, and which gets approved at that level. So it went to Mr. Mahindra for approval, and he rejected it. So the entire team said, why? It was a solution. We are maintaining the safety, as well as the customers' demand are maintained by keeping that fancy look and feel at the back. So he simply said that, our company or our organization talks about what is from the inside is from the outside. This is against our policy. That's value principles. That's the level of value principles that can go. There are a lot of examples I have.
Career with Mahindra.
Okay. So I have experienced in my personal life also with a lot of organizations, when you're discussing about value principles, they say, so what if this is like this? And so what if it, no, I say, no. If it comes to making a decision on a particular activity, role, or a thing, then it's important that you abide by whatever are the ethical principles given by that, whatever value principles are of the organization. You can move to other organizations and do what you want to do, but it's different everywhere. So you cannot, like, I have experienced people move from, like, you see, generally it's a very common thing in the private sector banks. People move in private sector banks very often, which I've seen in my team as well as in different teams where people move in private sector banks. But it's not a very acceptable thing, because people upfront, I've heard people saying, don't bring the other businesses culture in my organization. That is value principles, and that's how strong it should be. It's a moral direction that guides you in decision making. So every single employee in the organization will be directed by that. As I said, it is not against value, it is against value principles, so it will not be adhered to. And this has to be I do induction training program with corporates, and at Learning Equinox, we do induction training programs for corporates. And this is one thing which I make note of very particularly, because if your vision, mission, and value is drilled down in the right fashion to your employees, the magic is done. Then they will never leave you. So, and I have seen the results. At least I have been in two years of this program, and I do see that, if you are consistent with your value principles, and if your employees are completely aware about it, then the magic is done. They stick to it, and they stay with it because they believe in it. If they don't believe in it, of course they will leave you in the next 1 or 2 months itself. You'll see the change. So it is very important to have that kind of strong value principles, and they cannot be haywire. They should not be mixed up or hodgepodge. They should be crisp, clear, and easy for everyone to understand. So they should be like a standard code. All right. So that was about the initial start part. Yeah, Mr. Growth Launcher. So could you please introduce yourself? You've joined right now in halfway of the session. So I just thought I'll finish this point and then come to you for introduction and further things. Yes, please. You're on mute.
Hi, Jyoti, it's me, Vijay.
Yeah. Growth Launcher. I was like, yeah. Who's this Growth Launcher? All right.
New business. I sent also to you. Now we launched it recently. This is particularly for the like startups
Okay.
Okay. Anyway, so that is, about me, like basically I'm a lawyer, so we have a law firm here where I am talking,
Okay.
and this is a Growth Launcher is a new initiative.
Okay.
Basically, it's a sort of accelerator set up in UK.
Okay.
Basically, startups who want to need fundings either from India, from anywhere in the world, we'll arrange for seed funders, venture capitalists, and in terms of investors, crowdfunding. So we'll arrange for that. So startups will pitch in, and then once our investors are happy with it, then we will give the funding to them through the investors. And we have a mediator called Ha Ventures. They are based in Mumbai. So, and they do the curation of the startups. So basically, the startups will go to them, and
Which is
they
that
will
Ha Ventures? I think I know that.
AH Ventures.
AH, na? Ha, I
Yeah,
think I know. I know this. I
yeah, they're
know
very
this
very
group.
good. They're very
Yeah,
good.
yeah.
So that's what the Growth Launchers does. So we'll be focusing more time on the Growth Launcher, connecting with entrepreneurs, and also we do a mentoring system for them. Like if a startup needs a
Right.
business plan or they need mentoring, so we also try to connect with the mentors.
Okay.
Yeah. So that's it about me, Jyoti.
Okay, okay. Yeah, thanks for the introduction. So, people have joined in, and then some of them have left, and now some of them have joined in back. But I'm just on the second slide for today, where we were talking about the vision, mission, values of an organization and how we can build on that. So, I think I'll continue with this. The next part is, okay, fine. Let's take an example of McDonald's. What is the vision statement of McDonald's? Mission statement and vision statement of McDonald's. McDonald's is a very common brand. Everyone knows, everyone is aware about McDonald's. What do you think is a vision mission statement? Let's take an example and study how important it is, and how we can actually define our vision mission statements. Anyone, any idea? What is the vision mission statement of McDonald's? Okay, you can Google it, please. You're allowed to do that. So yeah, I mean, this is the mission statement: to be a customer's favorite place. I mean, I've taken it from the internet as well, because I have to quote in terms: to be a customer's favorite place and a way to eat and drink. So it focuses, this is the mission statement. That means their mission is this, not their vision. Their vision is something else. Their vision is to move with velocity to drive profitable growth and become an even better McDonald's, serving more customers delicious food each day around the world. Got the difference? They serve food. Okay, that's their mission. Their vision is profitable growth across the world. That is their vision statement. So they are very clear. They want to be a profitable business. They want to grow and serve more customers. And what they want to serve? They want to serve food. How? Mission: to be customers' favorite place and way to eat and drink. How they are going to achieve that vision? By providing a place for customers to eat their favorite food. Okay, so burger is a concept which has come from the US, because McDonald's has developed the burger. Otherwise, here sandwiches were more common, and you had rolls and all of this in India. But this concept of food has come from McDonald's into India, right? If I take the Indian context to it. So their vision is very broad. Their vision is something different: to have a grow and make it profitable. Okay, and to reach out to many people. But how? By serving food around the world. And that how they are going to achieve through their mission statement: by serving food at their favorite place. So the place should have that look and feel to attract their customers, and the way to eat and drink. So it's very clear: place, eat and drink. They provide food, they provide beverages, and they have a place which is the culture of the place is completely different, which attracts people to eat and drink, okay, and spend time together. So the vision and mission, the difference is very clear. The vision is the broad objective of the organization. The mission is how you will implement it. Now coming to the values of McDonald's, and let us see how whether we see these value principles or not. Again, this is from the internet. You can go to McDonald's website and look at that. It says that the backbone of our brand is and always has been a commitment to set our core values that define who we are and how we run businesses and restaurants. We will live our values every day and use them to make decisions big and small. We define McDonald's as a brand of our people and the people we serve and trust. Okay, so it's a people oriented business. What do? While serving, their rule is we put our customer and people first. So they have faster deliveries, they have quick services, right? This is the reason. Inclusion, we are open our doors to everyone. They do not segregate between caste, creed. You know, everyone is welcome to eat on the same table at McDonald's. Integrity, we do the right thing. Okay, that's about compliances that they need to follow in different parts of the world. Community, we are good neighbors. They are welcoming every country. They are available at different their outlets are available at different parts of the country, so they are accepting everyone as their neighbor. Family, we get better together. That is, you know, you have these family meals and you have this concept of family dinings also available with them. So this is the value principle of McDonald's, and again this is imbibed in their employees, and that is why they serve you the way they serve you. Now, as Paul sir was mentioning that, yes, I mean, what you see outside is people replicate businesses. It does not happen in small business, it happens in every business. McDonald's, we have so many replicas of McDonald's. We have KFC, we have, what do you say, Burger King in India. We have so many. I mean, this is now a very common concept. But do they all follow the same principles? Go and check out on their website. It's not going to be the same. It will be different, because they are reach, they are, and you can see that it's visible in the kind of services that they provide. You do not get service at Burger King. You cannot get different things at Burger King what you get at McDonald's. Okay, their vision mission is different, their value principles are different, though they are in the same kind of business. Okay, similarly, if you go and see for KFC, it's going to be different. So this is where the difference lies, and this is visible in deliverables. This is visible in the way people deliver their output. Clear so far? I mean, we were talking about vision, mission, and values. So I thought I'll pick up an example which is common to everyone. McDonald's is a very common brand. We can take that and we can understand how we can set our vision, mission, and values.
True, Jyoti. It's really useful when you're going to relate to something, rather you explaining, relate to existing successful business. It relates to our life and our business as well.
So just to give an example, I picked up McDonald's so that, you know, and it has got competition. It has got other similar models of business across the globe. But how is it different, or what is it that they follow? Whether they are different or not is a different perspective of everybody. They are valuable customers will say it's good, and they are not so valuable customers will say it's not good. But this is what they follow. And of course, now when you're starting your own business, of course, you have to be your own boss, which means you have to motivate yourself. You have to, this is the first step. We are doing the first step of defining your business, which means we are saying these are the policies, mission, vision, values. You are having vision, mission, but are you following it? Are you capable of working towards it? Because there is nobody behind you as an entrepreneur to tell you do this or don't do this right way, and you will not be able to do this. Nobody is going to tell you that. You have to be your own boss. You have to take that step further and do your things your way. It's not going to change. You have to be your own boss means you have to understand time management. You have to juggle around various activities in the beginning. So in the beginning, where it's only you and your co-founder, these are the two people who will be juggling with time and who will be juggling with all the activities around the business. So you should understand time management. You cannot say that, you know, you cannot keep a customer waiting in the initial stage, because that's a loss of customer. And when you have not yet built your brand, a loss of customer is a big loss. So understand time management, of course, beat procrastination. So there are times you work for more than 20 hours in a day, because it's your startup, it's your baby. So just like a mom takes care of a small newborn baby, you have to take care of your business at this stage by taking complete action on what you're doing. For example, you have to finalize the financials because of the year ending. You have got customer pressure because of some complaints that have come across. You have some research and development team which is coming up with different prototypes every single time, and you're not sure whether it's in line with what you had thought or not. You have to check on that also. So all of the things come to you at the same time, and between you and your co-founder, you have to juggle these tasks. So again, when we will be talking about co-founders, we will discuss a little more in depth on this part as well, as to how your co-founder helps you or joins hands with you, and what you should keep in mind while selecting this person called co-founder, because he or she should be capable of thinking about your business exactly the same way as you are. It's not that you are on another track and he's okay just there for you because he's a family member, or he has put in some finance or given you some money or equity on it. No, understand that you have to be your own boss. You have to manage your own time. You have to beat procrastination. You have to do your own work. Nobody's going to push you. Nobody's going to motivate you. It has to be self-driven. And of course, you need to have an action plan for work. What do I mean by action plan for work? Here, it's all about creating the business plan. So the next part would be the business plan, which I thought I will discuss in the next discussion, because it's a larger topic. But before that, before you create an action plan, when we were talking about vision and mission and strategizing your business, you also need to understand two key parameters. What will be your action plan? What are the customers that you're going to reach out? How many of your customers have you tested the market before going for a final launch? Have you actually tested the aspects of your product and services that you're going to offer? Do you know your customers, and do you feel that this is actually working or not? That is also the initial part, which we'll move on to the next one, which talks about defining your customers. Are you clear on this? Are you aware that your products and services will be bought by only one set of customers and not everybody? Not everybody will be able to relate to your product and services. Not everybody will be able to give you that, come to your doorstep for your service, because there are so many others providing a similar kind of service. When we discussed last session, we discussed about the unique idea and the scalability of the unique idea. When you're deciding on the scalability of the unique idea, one very significant aspect is your market reach, your customers. Know them means not take their Aadhaar card and PAN card, not that KYC. Knowing your customers means understanding their mindset, understanding what they would like, tastes and preferences. A lot of companies, before launching their products, do a lot of surveys online to get this kind of feedback from customers, to know them. What are their tastes and preferences? What are their choices? What do they like doing? What is it that they don't like doing? So knowing your customer is another significant aspect, and make them your target audience. See, just knowing your customer, it doesn't end there. Do you really think that your product is sellable to them? You've identified a certain need in the market. You have worked towards that need. You have got a solution to that problem. But how many people are having that problem? Is it only 5% of your economy, or is it 70% of the economy having that problem? If the problem is large, then you will have many customers. If your problem is small, you will not have many customers. So that will help you decide your target audience. What are their needs? What is it? Is it something that they are desperately wanting for? All this forms actually part of your market research, which is your initial definition stage. Of course, market analysis. I will discuss market analysis separately in my subsequent sessions, because it's a little in-depth topic. But here, just to say that it's about researching your market. It is about understanding customers' taste and preferences, and seeing whether you want to launch your product only in one particular state, in one particular region, in one particular country, or across the globe. That is the market analysis you need to do. So the universe is available for you. Where all do you want to reach? Have you drawn that line now? And that has to come at the initial stage. So deciding that, yes, this I'm going to do currently, this I'm going to do in the next phase and the third phase, is possible. But again, what you're going to do at what level in your business, you have to decide at the initial stage. Networking, very important, because that's how you know customers. That's how you will fulfill your first, second, and third point. You have to network around with people. What we have seen, we keep doing, we keep talking this again. Entrepreneurship building is a platform for networking with people. Startups network at different platforms. It is all about networking and understanding your customers' needs. That is where you will get a bunch of people to know each other, to understand each other, and to develop it further. Research the customer's mindset and understand what exactly they want. Research it in terms of conducting surveys, conducting feedbacks, taking feedbacks. All of that is about researching the minds of the customers. Any questions so far?
No, Jyoti.
Starting your own business is all about accepting responsibility. There is no blame game here. Even if you're having a co-founder, you cannot say, or a leadership team. Let's say in a flat organization, you may have 2 leaders or 3 leaders handling different roles. You cannot blame anyone for anything. Things will go wrong at the initial stage. Maybe you thought that you have read the mindset of the customers, you've done a proper research, but somewhere it didn't work out. Whom to blame? You cannot blame the research team. You have to blame yourself for it, because you have to accept the responsibility that the idea is yours. You need to make sure that people are not wrong. They are also equally trying the way you have been trying, and you have told them to do it, so they're doing it for you. But if it doesn't reach out, that anguish, that agony, you cannot be taking out on your co-founder or your initial team, because it's all about accepting responsibility and making it for yourself that this is important. This is what I have thought, and maybe my thinking was wrong. This didn't work for XYZ reason. And only that will help you introspect the reasons as to why it did not work. When you understand why it did not work, no, you will start working in the right direction. Because many a times what happens is startups fail. We have seen startups fail in the initial 3 to 5 years. The reason why they fail is simply because they're not willing to accept responsibility. There are a lot of startups which come up with real great innovative idea. Go outside the IITs or the IIMs and or the MBA institutes, and you will see brilliant ideas across. People are just throwing ideas here and there with great, and there some of them are really very innovative. But it's important that when they are actually executing that idea, the challenge comes is, oh, it's my idea, it has to be great, how can I go wrong with that? No, it does not happen that way. If it goes wrong, there could be some, I mean, you need to just juggle around some changes. Not everything is wrong. Okay, it could be that somewhere you failed your research, or somewhere you failed your market analysis, somewhere you failed to understand the demand of your target audience. Anything can go wrong, but it's all about understanding that it's wrong and I need to take corrective action. And that comes with accepting responsibility. Accepting responsibility for yourself and for your immediate team is also a significant aspect in the initial stage, because this is where we lose faith and give up. So the next step is whatever we discussed so far, to put it in black and white, so that not only me, but everyone in the organization is going to follow that. And that comes with a business plan. It's an in-depth topic. I thought of taking it next time, but I'll just run you through what all should be the components of a business plan. First is the executive summary, which lists down the summary of the business plan. Then goes how you're going to describe your business. Your vision, mission, value, principles will come in there. We will study that in depth when I do the entire business plan. The description of your product or service. So what is the product or service that you're out to offer? Not only today, 10 years down the line. That big, you need to forecast or foresee your product. Your market analysis. What is the market analysis? How you are, that's why I said I'll take up market analysis later, because when I'll be doing the business plan, I'll do all of this much in depth. This is going to be a 1 hour complete session for business plan. Competitive analysis. What are the competition available in the market? How do I benchmark that competition? How do I build a niche for myself? How do I do my SWOT analysis? What are the things that I need to see that I can take one step above my competitor? And operations and management. How will I execute whatever I have thought? So till point number 5 so far, it's all a bed of roses. This is all my imagination. But to put it down in terms of people, how will I get it done? How do I manage my operations? What teams I need? Uh, how will I execute the task? What are the steps I will take to do it? Who will be my manager for that operations? Or who will be my manager for production? Who will be manager for logistics? How they need to work? All of that needs to be documented in your business plan. The financial components obviously talks about the financial statements, that is your projected profit and loss balance sheet, your ratio analysis, what sort of ratios you're going to look at in the business, what do you see in future, whether you're going to be funding it from outside or in-house, would you be giving it your equity stake or not, would you be buying machinery or taking it on lease, what cost analysis you have done for that, all that comes under the financial components. What would be the tax in your particular, is there a tax exemption that is available for that particular product or service, is there a particular offer that is available by the government in your particular sector of product and services, what benefits are available, tax reductions are available. I mean, I can go on this. So and then supporting documents, that is whatever is there in the first top few topics, what documents I have maintained or what backup records I have in my supporting document, because this business plan is not going to be a one time thing. Initially it'll be a one time and you'll have to revisit it every maybe quarterly or annually. Initially quarterly, and subsequently when your business grows you can do it annually. And your supporting documents that time will be your working papers that will help you understand why you took that decision at that point of time. So all of that supporting documents as to why, what are your financial strategies, what are your operation strategies, you need to have supporting documents for that, and that is the last part. So this is about business plan. Business plan separately I'll take, where we'll also study market analysis and all of that. We'll do it separately in the next session. So next session would be all about business plan, SWOT analysis and competitive advantage. So third, fourth and fifth session. Third session, we will talk about business plan. The fourth session, we will talk about SWOT analysis, how you can do a business SWOT. And at this stage, I would like people to volunteer. Let us take practical live examples. I mean, I can do a SWOT analysis on McDonald's or a Amul or any other brand. That is different. That will be a story of discussion. But it's advisable if from someone from the group or someone from the team comes forward for this kind of a SWOT analysis. So it will be like a learning for everyone. It will be more practical, and how we can have a competitive advantage. So business plan, SWOT analysis and competitive advantage. These are the upcoming sessions that I see in the coming in this month. So that's all for today's session. Thank you for your time, and please let me know if you have any feedback for this, or if you want any changes or anything, change in time and change in structure or anything. Any questions so far?
It's perfect, Jyoti. It's nothing. I don't know. Probably it's interesting. I think I missed earlier session and joined late. It's really interesting. But thing is, it's such a valuable session. It should reach more people. The most people should come and attend and get this training.
So in the past 3 sessions that I've done, the first one was the very initial start where I gave the introduction. The second one was where I discussed on the unique idea, and this is the third one. There have been completely different set of audience.